Hello everybody, Sparks1701 here. Today we're going to talk about the Autobot Security Director, Red Alert from 1985. But before we get into talking about Red Alert too much, I want to throw a red alert out to all of my viewers out there. Come January 1st, YouTube is going to change a lot of how they view toy channels. Supposedly, they're going to redo a lot of the ways they've got many of their channels set up. And they might register a lot of the channels, especially those that are directed at toys, onto their YouTube Kids area. What that means is that those channel operators will no longer be able to collect money, which doesn't affect me because I'm not big enough to get money. But it also means that notifications for new videos will not be sent to subscribers, nor will you, my viewers, be allowed to comment on my videos. The full story behind this was done on the channel Retroblasting, and I'm going to include a link to that video down in the description. It's about a half an hour long. You will want to listen to what Retroblasting has to say, and he does have a link to a Google document that he encourages you to copy, fill out, and submit back to YouTube. And if you are a fan of this kind of content, or you also watch other channels that do similar types of content that could be affected, I strongly encourage all of you to watch his video and submit your own requests to YouTube in the hopes that they will not interfere with this channel's continued operations. Alright, enough with the speaking. Let's get on to the review. This is Red Alert. He's the head of security for the Autobots. He was released in 1985. He would also be available briefly in 1986. He would be discontinued by 1987, and we would not get a replacement for him. Red Alert is another one of the cheaply made toys from Hasbro, as he is basically a slight retool of Sideswipe. Basically, he has an additional light bar added to the backside, but otherwise, just about everything is the same on Red Alert as it is on Sideswipe. All their weapons are of a similar shape, but the color schemes are different. Whereas Red Alert here has red weaponry, Sideswipe's would be white. But that also means he suffers from some of the same vulnerabilities as Sideswipe, such as having this very thin windshield here on the back, and also the clip for the launcher here on his shoulder is also prone to breakage. I can also tell you the pins here, right above the hood of the car, are also vulnerable to breakage. So do look out for that if you are looking for a decent Red Alert. But of course, this one's also not in the best of shape due to the fact of the white plastic. You may not be able to see it as easily on the camera here, but there is some slight traces of yellowing here on the hood. So, as a white toy, he's bound to have that happen sooner or later. At any rate, let's take a look at some of Red Alert's articulation. He has about what you'd expect for an Autobot car. You can rotate his arm at the shoulder all the way around. His gun does fit rather loosely in his hands. We'll just keep it off for the moment. But you can bend his arm at the elbow about 90 degrees. Well, a little bit more since it will sink in down about that far. And he does raise it up. almost to the point where he can almost touch the tire. So he does have a fair amount of range of motion, which isn't too bad for an Autobot car. Since he dropped his gun, we'll go ahead and transform him. All we got to do is carefully remove the launcher. As you saw, it does fire. Okay, the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure his arms are folded into the doors. Pop the hood loose and fold the head back into the interior like so. And then we'll fold up the hood of the car like so. We push the arms in at the shoulders. We'll come around here and we'll adjust things to get the windshield into place. There we go. And we'll come down here, we grab onto his feet and fold them up into the legs. Push the legs together, and then push the body down onto him. Very gently, so you make sure the connections all go in. He doesn't want to snap together very easily here. Almost feel like something's jamming it here. Alright, at any rate, here we have him in his alternate mode. He's a Lamborghini Countach, modified to be an emergency vehicle, which isn't bad. There are some police jurisdictions that do have Lamborghinis as part of their fleet. I know there are some, they've captured Lamborghinis from drug dealers, and they modify them to be parts of their drug resistance programs. Be something that looks wild at the schools. But I do remember reading a few years back that there was an area in Florida where the highway patrol was getting Lamborghinis. But the problem I have with Red Alert is right here on the hood. You can see here, Fire Chief. This makes him a Fire Chief's car. And no fire department in the world has a budget that could afford to give the chief a Lamborghini as his personal car. While granted, he would get to the fire very fast in a Lamborghini, the problem is that Lamborghinis are not exactly known for storage capacity. And if the fire chief is the first man on scene, he's going to need a spot where his gear would be stowed, and Lamborghinis really don't have that kind of cargo capacity to effectively hold firefighting equipment. So this one is kind of a delusional one, folks. At any rate, Red Alert here is on rubber tires, so that was a nice novelty in '85. How well does he roll on them? Rolls very good. Very, very good for a toy that's about to turn 35 years old. Let's take a look at Red Alert's loose parts now. Starting with his main weapon. This is his gun, which the instructions describe as a high-energy particle beam rifle. Looks kind of nifty, but it's nothing too fancy. At least it's a solid piece of plastic, so it does have that going for it. Then we got here the shoulder-mounted rocket launcher. And of course, the difference here is that this is white on Red Alert. It will be red on Sideswipe. Of course, I have yet to review Sideswipe, mainly because I'm trying to find a better one. Mine's not in the best of shape, so keep hoping to find a decent-looking one soon. As I stated earlier, it's these clips right here. These are made of a very hard plastic. So there isn't a whole lot of give. So you do need to be very, very careful when you're looking for one on the loose market. This one's in very good shape. There's no signs of stress wear on it. So, very rare treat to find. And then, of course, lastly, we have the rockets. There are, of course, 3 of them here for the toy. And even though you saw it fire, it's still a relatively neutered toy. We'll show you here how well it fires. Pretty much just launches it like a grenade launcher. So we're not going to hit much. If only these things had some oomph, then maybe we'd do some target practice here on the channel. Alright, now let's take a look at his instruction manual. Open it up straight away here, and you can see we got a relatively nice picture of him here on the front. Shows off all the stuff, including the stickers and the decoder. Nice introductory page, and then how to transform the car into the robot. Oops. Slippery little thing. And then, of course, how to put the stickers on. And they give you a whole page here to show off the rub signs, since this was the year they started the rub signs. And at the end, you get a reminder to save your robot points and how to read your tech specs. So, speaking of such, here we have Red Alert's tech spec. It's all done up in red to show he's an Autobot, even says he's an Autobot, and we got a picture that would match the one on the front of the box. It gives his name as Red Alert. His function is Security Director. So since Ironhide is a member of security, that seems to imply that Red Alert would be his boss. And Red Alert's motto is, "Caution can never be overused." Nothing escapes his notice, no matter how small. When his sensors are activated, thinks trouble is coming. Edgy, unpopular with comrades, but appreciated. Can trigger alarms in other Autobots. Excellent sensory perception. Fast in vehicular mode. Carries 25-mile range rocket launcher and particle beam rifle. Prone to rash judgments, which can lead to injury to himself and comrades. So evidently in his haste to get out there and deal with the danger, he oftentimes can hurt himself. Of course, we notice it says fast in vehicular mode. Well, of course he's fast. He's a Lamborghini. And then now we take a look here at his tech spec. We'll take a look at what the grid stats state. It gives his strength as 5, his intelligence is 7, his speed is 3. What the heck? He's a Lamborghini, for crying out loud. What happened to this fast in vehicular mode? His endurance is 5, his rank is 7, his courage is also 7, his firepower is also 7, and his skill is 8. So, despite being a little too quick to judge things, Red Alert is apparently rather competent. Now we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of Red Alert? Red Alert is one of those characters that's about in the middle. He makes you sit on the fence about him a lot. Now, this is not one I had growing up as a child, but I know a lot of people did, and from the way it's talked, a lot of people partnered him up with Inferno a lot on their missions. Since a fire chief's car, even though it's a Lamborghini, and a fire truck going out side by side together wouldn't be seen as much of a problem. So in some ways, I would see that working. Although now, in more modern lore, Red Alert's role has changed to being an on-site medic. Since the new card game, Red Alert has been listed as a medic. Plus, they've also demoted him down to a private, so he obviously is. The card game is covering obviously a much younger version of Red Alert. The biggest gripes that I have with Red Alert is the fact that since he is basically a slight retool, he unfortunately has the same problems that his twin Sideswipe has. You got a very vulnerable windshield that will break very easily, and you have an easy to break weapon accessory. Neither of these were improved when they remade Red Alert, so that's something that does come off to me as a bit bothersome. I mean, whether this was part of the original Takara design or a sign of Hasbro's cheapness, it's hard to really say. But I would think they would have liked to have taken the time to remake the toy to eliminate some of the fracture points. But then again, that's just wishful thinking, because the G.I. Joe line that ran concurrently with this, they were known for re-releasing a lot of the different toys over the years with a different paint job. And even though they would know the earlier toy had very easily broken pieces, when they would reissue the vehicle during the same run of the line from 82 to 94, the vehicles were not remade to have sturdier parts. They just churned them out in different colors, and off you go, kiddies. So, yeah, I think we can partially blame Hasbro for this one. As a character, Red Alert isn't too bad. It's nice to have a security director that is a little bit edgy. It's at least nice to know that the Autobots do appreciate him, despite the fact that they find him an irritating pain in the butt. Especially if he ends up triggering an alarm and half of the crew hurts themselves scrambling outside to find a coyote taking a leak on a rock. Oh well. But in a lot of ways, I think Red Alert deserves to be about in the middle tier. He's a decent enough character, but the cheapness of the toy does weigh him down a bit, as does the stupid stickers for the Fire Chief designation on him. Because, let's face it, folks, even in the wilds of our imagination, no fire department has the budget to make a Lamborghini the personal car of the chief. And that concludes my review of the 1985 Autobots Security Director Red Alert. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, drop me a thumbs up here on YouTube. If you're new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button so you can join up in our ranks. And ring the notification bell so you'll be notified when I post new content. Also, please consider sharing your thoughts of Red Alert in the comments down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I'll catch you all later.